This episode is brought to you by my 8-week coaching program. Go from wanting to become a professional organizer to having your very own business and organizing for clients in less than 60 days. I will walk you through the process one-on-one, step-by-step to starting the pro organizing business of your dreams. My coaching program is designed specifically for you and the goals that you want to achieve. Whether you have already started creating your business or you are just getting started, I will come alongside of you to help you reach your goals. Visit proorganizerscoach.com to find out more today. You are listening to the Pro Organizers Coach podcast. I'm Samantha Brown, a professional organizer and business coach. In this podcast, you will learn how to start and scale the organizing business of your dreams. So let's jump in. Today's episode is part 1 of the 6 types of clients that you will encounter as a pro organizer. Janel and I have a real conversation about the ins and outs of being a pro organizer. This is part 1, but make sure to hit that subscribe and automatic download button so you don't miss part 2 next week. So now let's jump into today's episode.
Welcome back to the Pro Organizers Coach podcast. On today's episode, I have Janel from One Organized Mama. Say hi, Janel.
Hey, everybody.
We wanted to bring you all an episode talking about clients. But first, I wanted to give Janel a chance to introduce herself, to say hi to you, and to tell you a little bit about herself.
Thank you so much for having me on. So I'm so excited about this venture that we're doing together. So for those of you who aren't familiar with who I am, my name is Janel. The name of my business is One Organized Mama. I started out in Las Vegas, Nevada as a professional organizer way back in the summer of 2012. So I just hit the 10-year mark for my business. I was in the field, so to speak, organizing client homes for about 8 years. At the height of my business, ran a team of about 10 organizers. We fluctuated between about 5 to 10 people over the years. So I really come at professional organizing from like running a team, running a business, having to, be in multiple client homes, juggling all of that in one day. Well, fast forward, around 2020, I had to do a major pivot with my business, as I know many people did. And so that's when I really was faced with stopping my in-home organizing service. And I really had a passion for teaching organization, not just for your home, but for your life with time management techniques. So what I decided to do is to really grow my platform. I have a podcast, One Organized Mama, same name as my business. I teach time management organizing techniques on the podcast. I've even done some coaching, and that's how I came to meet the wonderful Samantha.
Yeah, so Janel is amazing, and you should go check out One Organized Mama. Whenever I first started as a professional organizer, I actually listened to Janel on the times that I wasn't sure how to organize for a client or what I should be saying or what I should be doing, because everyone that teaches, in my opinion, professional organizing, they assume you know what to do once you get the job. Well, for me, I had no idea. So I would listen to Janel on her episodes of like how to declutter a kitchen or how to clean out a junk drawer or time management skills. Just all of the little things that were super helpful back whenever I was first learning how to become a professional organizer.
Yeah, and I've been really happy. If you guys are not familiar with me, I'm very let's tell it how it is out there. I think one of the things Samantha and I really agree on is that there are so many people in this industry that are focused on aesthetics and giving this perception of perfection. And one of the things that has really connected us is that we're in the trenches, like we're working in client homes, like we're being called by total strangers to go work in their homes that reach out to us that need advice when it comes to organizing. And so I just really am super happy to see a little bit of a change in this industry. Samantha is definitely a big part of that. And letting people know it's okay. Organization is not about perfection. And we are here to give you the real lowdown of what it's like to be a professional organizer.
Absolutely. And so, on that note, Janelle and I today wanted to talk about the types of clients that you will encounter as a professional organizer. So, we made a list of 6 different types of clients, and we are going to go over each one. And then we're going to talk a little bit about either a type of client we have dealt with like that, so some good examples, or ways that we interact with those clients, because you will learn as you become a professional organizer and you go into people's homes, every client is so different and what they need from you is different. Even though the way you organize and your systems might be the same, all of the clients are going to be from A to Z. You never know what you're going to get until you get into that consultation. And then sometimes they even shock you once you come back for the actual session of how they are and what they're willing to do. So real quick, like for example, I've had multiple clients that during the consultation, they will say, I want to get rid of everything. I'm ready to release it all. And then we get into the session and it's, a piece of trash or a little earring backing. And then they want to hold on to it. And they're like, no, I can't get rid of that. And you're like, but during the consultation, you said that you wanted to release everything.
Right.
Yeah. So you can't always take them at their word. You have got to get kind of that sixth sense. No matter what they say, what is it that they're actually wanting to have done? And what are they going to be happy with? Because at the end of the day, we want our clients to be happy.
Absolutely. So one thing that I realized as a professional organizer is that I was being called on to be the expert. And that's okay to lead your client. Like Samantha just said, your client may not always know what they want. So it's really important to get in there and ask them why. Why are they ready to start organizing? And really keep their why in perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. That was one of the first things that I learned as a professional organizer was finding out their goals and their why during the consultation. So during the sessions, you can remind them of that. And every time I have ever reminded a client of their why during a session, they immediately are like, oh my gosh, I forgot about that, or I can't believe you remember that. And so it brings them back to what they originally wanted in the first place. And that's what we're there to do, is to help keep them on track, but also help them reach their goals. Because if they could reach their goals on their own, they would not have called us in the first place.
Yes.
All right. So the types of clients you encounter as a pro organizer. So number 1 is the need to declutter type.
Or like we like to say, the every client type. Like every client needs to do some decluttering.
Yes, very much so. And then, there's a difference. There's 2 different types of clients under the need to declutter. There's, everyone that needs to declutter, because that's part of becoming organized, is decluttering your items. But then there's also the ones that's all they need to do is declutter, because they have way too much stuff in the space, and they went out and bought bins and baskets, and they bring in and they add to the pile, and they're like, here's all my bins and baskets I went and bought at Target or at, IKEA or wherever they went to, Container Store. And then they're like, okay, make it pretty.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that this is quite honestly not emphasized enough again in our industry. Like decluttering is tough, and it's not just like a messy thing. It's a mental, it's emotional. And I don't think it's emphasized enough in our industry, but definitely, in order to organize a space, whether it be your own space or a client space, you have to get in there and get rid of stuff, donate stuff, sell stuff, toss stuff. It has to get done.
Yeah. And one thing that I've realized recently, and Janelle and I were talking about, just for all of you that are maybe having some issues with your clients, all they need to decide is, are they keeping it or releasing it? And then once they decide that they are going to release it, you can choose whether it is donation or trash. I think giving our clients 3 options of keep, donate, toss is what everyone teaches, which is true. Those are the 3 piles. But for our client, it should just be keep or release. Once they decide that they want to release it, we can decide if it goes in the donation pile or in the trash pile, because we don't want to overwhelm their brains. They are already overwhelmed enough. That's why they called us in the first place. So we want to keep it as simple as can be for them, because it's very overwhelming for them that they're having to already go through their items.
Absolutely. And one thing I wanted to add on that, I remember working with a client who was, they probably lived in their home for 30 or 40 years, an elderly couple. And they had a lot of like cleaning products that were under the sink that where the cans where the bottoms have started to rust. And obviously it was really hard for them to release anything. So you sometimes have to kind of just let them know. This client, very sweet lady, but she wanted to donate all of it. I knew for a fact there wasn't any donation center that was going to accept those items. So I just had to sort of kind of traipse around the truth a little bit, just being really careful and stuff, not to outright lie to her, but just to kind of let her know that I'm going to handle these items. And I think that's kind of how I just let her know, because like you say all the time, a lot of times it's just up to them to release it. It's not like they're going to go and check at, the donation center to make sure that you did, take those cans. And also you don't want to overwhelm donation centers with a bunch of junk or stuff that then they have to get rid of or handle. But definitely, like Samantha emphasized, it is just your job to help them release those items and not get so bogged down in the details of where is every item going to go.
Yes. And now I have had a few clients, just a little side note. The other day I had one. The second I told her that I would probably take it to Goodwill, because Goodwill is the closest one to her home, she immediately went into a tangent and was like, you can take my stuff anywhere, but I do not support Goodwill. I was like, okay, that's fine. I'm more than happy to drive the extra few miles and take it to a Carm or, somewhere else that is a donation center around here. And that seemed to appease her. So then, of course, on her notes for her session in my phone, I wrote, don't take to Goodwill.
Right.
She did not want it taken to Goodwill. And I want my clients to be happy. I don't want her to somehow be at that Goodwill one day and see one of her items and know that I said I wasn't going to, but then I went behind her back and did it anyway. So
absolutely.
Yeah, you want to do what you can for the clients and keep them as happy as possible, but you also want to make sure that, you say what you're going to do, and then the other stuff, maybe you just don't even tell them. It's just once it's in your car, you are the one doing whatever with those items.
Right. And the other thing I want to emphasize real quick, there's so much to say under this type of client, but I wanted to say we don't want to be going into client homes and just moving around piles of stuff, because especially as a brand new organizer, before I kind of had the guts to kind of stand up to my clients a little bit, I did find myself in those sessions where I would get so stressed out because I just felt like we moved piles of stuff around. It just took kind of getting to the point, and it took a lot of practice for me to tell my clients, look, I am doing you a disservice if I leave here and we haven't actually decluttered any of the spaces. So I really emphasize that with my clients, and I really encourage you guys to do the same with yours, because it is not satisfying. I will say, if you do feel like you're just sort of moving stuff around for your clients, it's likely they're not going to have you back. And that's not what we're there to do. And you just don't want to leave your clients with boxes and bins of junk that they have to go through that is just going to end up being more clutter down the road.
Yes. Yeah. And, as long as you let them know, like I tell all of my clients, the very first step, and no matter what, is we are going to go into these rooms, and whatever room we're working on that day, we have to go through and we have to, item by item, decide, is it a keeper or is it something that you can let go of? Because just doing that step a lot of times makes it feel more organized, because there's not so much junk in the way.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Awesome. So type number 2 is the quote unquote just do whatever type of client.
It's such a fun client. This was the type of client that, like, once you're in the business for a while, you can kind of get to a point where you can kind of pick and choose what type of projects and jobs do you want to work on. And I had kind of two feelings with this type of client. I did have him. This is a client who wants to be completely hands off. A lot of times they want you to come when they're not even home. It shocks me how many people were just so willing to give me a key to their house or the code to their garage door and just say, have at it. Now, just like we talked about with the decluttering, it is important for your clients to definitely declutter. So I would go in during the assessment, find out their priorities, narrow down, and then begin on a space. Now, with these clients, a way that you can tackle the decluttering portion is to leave them very specific homework. And so generally, I would just do one basket or bin of items and say, I need you to go through these by the time I come back for the next session. And so I would leave it like with a big, bright yellow sticky note in the middle of their kitchen counters and like go through these items. Sometimes even sending them a text reminder like, hey, your next session is coming up on Saturday. Did you get a chance to go through those items? I want to be able to finish that space. So these are the type of clients you do have to kind of keep them moving along, but they're really fantastic. And when you can grow your business to a point where so much of this is a referral based business, when people have learned to come to trust you and they like the work that you do, you can definitely build a nice base clientele of this. And a lot of times these clients will have you back. And a lot of them were my maintenance clients where I would go sometimes every single week. And I would just, punch in the little code in the garage, go in, and I got to know them and how their family operated. And I would just go in and tidy everything up and keep everything neat and organized.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. And also, I have a client right now that whenever he first moved into the area, I helped him unpack. So now that I go back to do the maintenance sessions, it is more of a hands off process where he lets me in and then he goes on to work. It's because we had already done a couple sessions helping him unpack back, 5 or 6 months ago, that now that he's needing the maintenance sessions, I already know his preference, what he likes, what are the things that I can just go ahead and toss out, those types of things. And so you really do develop relationships with your clients and they do stay around for quite some time. And I will say real quick while we're on this topic, when I first started and someone called me back, I had my very first client call me back, like I think it was 4 months later. I thought I had done something wrong. I thought, yeah, I was like, if they have to call me back, then I must not have done my sessions correctly with them. And what I want to say is if they call you back for a maintenance session, that means you did something right because we all have more stuff that we accumulate. We have life that goes on. Things get messy and dirty and we just end up accumulating more stuff. And so it has nothing to do with you as an organizer. It, in a bad way, it actually is a compliment to you that they want you back in their homes to do the service again.
Thank you for bringing that up because that is one of the things that I felt like I've had to educate a lot of people that aren't that familiar with this industry is that you want those maintenance clients. Those became the bread and butter of my business when I was doing in-home organizing. There's so many people out there that think that like it's a one and done. It is not a one and done. This is a part of maintenance. That's why my step number 4 is all about maintenance, maintaining the space. And that takes organizing. You have to constantly declutter. It's not like you just go in, organize someone's home, and then it's organized for the, rest of the time they live there. And I think that's something I love that you point that out because that is something I feel like I've had to correct people and say, no, you want those regular clients. You want those clients that call you back every 3 months or 6 months or even once a year to do kind of a refresher. So great job.
Absolutely. Yeah. So number 3 is the no clue what we do type.
Yeah.
These are the type of clients that you might encounter that want you to either babysit their kids or clean their house or walk you to a closet and say, there are the cleaning supplies. And you're like, hold on, I'm not here to clean your home. Like, we're working just on the office today or just on the garage or whatever, part of the house. It is our responsibility to educate our clients. So if during the consultation, we need to make sure that we are telling people and setting up realistic goals for them so they know when we come to the session, we are going to be working on this room or that room or whatever area that we are going to be working on. I have recently started telling a lot of my clients during the consultation that I can normally do about a room per session, but that I like to focus on one specific room per session. Because if we go anywhere else, it's going to get way chaotic and we're not going to be able to stay on track and get that room complete. And so a lot of times I make sure that at the consultation, we come up with the game plan for the very first room we're going to tackle. And then before I leave the first session, we go ahead and set up the game plan for the next session. So that kind of helps them not think that you're coming to do something that you're not there to do. So what do you think, Janelle, about the type of clients that have no clue what we do?
I think it is up to you as a professional organizer to educate your clients. So this is where I really talk about like really sort of niching down in your business too. It's okay to call yourself a professional organizer, especially when you're starting out. You don't know exactly what type of jobs you want to do. You know, maybe that you're pretty good at doing it for yourself in your own home, but you really have to educate people what you do. And it starts with that first phone call, just exactly reiterating what Samantha said. Like, you really need to ask the questions. So we have actually paperwork that we've created to help professional organizers. What sets our paperwork apart is that we are coming at it from a professional organizer's standpoint, where again, we've taken those calls from total strangers. They have a neighbor down the street who threw them our business card or whatever, and they're not quite sure what we do. It is up to you to start educating your client from that very first contact you have with them. And also, like I said, kind of let them know, because even when you do that, we have a lot of times found ourselves in situations where people will put whatever. They're like, hey, I'm paying you X amount of dollars an hour. Will you go run some errands for me? Can you get dinner started for me? I've had people, it didn't happen to me directly, but it happened to some of my organizers that worked for me, where people would leave their children. Baffles me. We've had people like want us to drive them around, run their errands in our car. You have got to let people know what it is you do. It is 100% on you as a professional to do that. So can't emphasize that enough.
And on the paperwork side of things, I think that's where you were going there for a second, was we come at the paperwork from a coaching standpoint. And so
Yes.
in our paperwork, we have prompts all throughout it that are going to help guide you on what to say to the client during the phone call. Then we have prompts on what to say during the assessment. We have prompts on what to say before, during, and after the sessions. So that way you aren't sitting there thinking, what do? I have this piece of paper that I'm going to show to the client, but what do I say when I show them this piece of paper? And so we wanted to make sure with our paperwork that you have your own guide to the paperwork that you are looking at. The client doesn't need to see you looking at it, but you have it in your clipboard so you can refer back to that if you get stuck at any point along the way.
Absolutely. And again, like I said, we're really coming at everything that we do from professional organizer standpoint. Samantha and I have, we're coming at it from very unique. She's very solopreneur. She is the one woman show. I'm actually amazed. I think she actually does create more time in her day to do stuff. I've come at it from a very different, like running a team and what that looks like. So like I said, I think you're getting a really good breadth of knowledge here with the two places that our businesses have been with this. But just to reiterate again, it's up to you. Educate your clients. It's okay to say no to somebody. If somebody is asking you to do something that you're just not comfortable, even if it's, hey, if there's extra time, would you mind, doing the dishes? It's okay to say no. I mean, And we've also talked about that too, Samantha. Sometimes, and I've had other professional organizers are like, who cares if they're paying me X amount of dollars an hour? I'll do whatever they want me to do in their house. That's okay. That's great. It happened not to be what I wanted to do. I was in a place where I was like, I'm here to do this. And when I'm done doing this, we can move on to the next project, or I can save some extra time to come back and do some maintenance. Completely up to you. But again, define what your business is and then communicate that to your clients.
Yeah, because as a professional organizer, it kind of falls in a gray area. It's not like hiring a painter. Well, you wouldn't ask the painter to watch your kids. But because we're professional organizers and it's still such a new industry that people aren't sure what it is that we're there to do sometimes, even though they're the ones that have called us. All they know is, like you said, Janelle, somebody from down the road or one of their friends or online they saw our ad or whatever it is. And they think, oh, I need one of those. But they don't know what is one of those or what they even do. They just think, I want one of those.
Yes, absolutely. Don't we all?
Yes, very much so.
You have been listening to the Pro Organizers Coach podcast. Go to the show notes to find all of the links mentioned in this episode and hit that subscribe and automatic download button so you don't miss a single thing. Thanks for listening.